Welcome back, everybody. Veggie's Daily Fantasy Corner, Week 9 of the NFL. Just want to let everybody know to like and subscribe to the channel. I know a lot of you guys aren't subscribed, my viewers. Just make sure when you're watching this video, very politely, hit that like and subscribe button. I'd appreciate it. It means a lot. You guys have shown nothing but love to me ever since I've started recording these videos and uploading these videos on YouTube, so I really appreciate that. I've gotten no hate. It's been all love. So, just, thank you for all the support. I read all the comments, all the critiques you guys have for me, and I really take those to heart, so thank you. We're recording this week in 4K. Shout out to my boy George, the cameraman, and Neil Squared for giving me their corner this week to give you guys these picks that I have for Week 9. Just a little recap from Week 8. I got pooped on Week 8 because Kenneth Gainwell was on the field for about 3 snaps. It was all Boston Scott for the Philadelphia Eagles. He got 2 rushing touchdowns, 70-some yards, and he got a lot of the totes, along with Mr. Howard. The experts were saying that Gainwell was going to get a lot of the touches this week for Week 8, and he did not do that. So I'm going to stay away from the experts this week, and I'm going to go with my own gut feeling picks who I think is really going to go off. So that's what I did for Week 8, and it really worked out for me. My astronomical pick, Michael Pittman Jr., did have a great week. He had 31 fantasy points. He did not get that 100 yards bonus that we wanted, those extra 3 points. However, he did get 2 touchdowns and I believe 98 yards and 11 catches. So I got that pick right, and I'm very proud of that. Let's get into Week 9's picks. I was in a run with a big dog this week. I was going to go with Kyler Murray. However, that changed drastically today after the Aaron Rodgers news that he's going to be out Week 9 with COVID, bringing in Jordan Love, who's valued at $4,400 DK dollars, which is dirt cheap for a quarterback. That's like middle of the road tight end value for a starting quarterback in this league. It's really uncertain. I feel like Jordan Love is going to be highly owned this week, which is concerning. But we're still going to roll with him just because of the value I believe you can get for as cheap as a player as he is at $4,400. He could be probably 30-35% owned based on that, which is a big red flag for daily fantasy. But we're gonna roll with it based on monetary value that he has this week and for a starting quarterback. Next up, we're going to go to our running backs. This week, I'm rolling with Nick Chubb from the Cleveland Browns, and I'm rolling with Elijah Mitchell from the San Francisco 49ers. Nick Chubb, it seems like whenever he touches the field, he's kind of like Derrick Henry. He's guaranteed at least 1 rushing touchdown, maybe 2. Ernest Johnson did get a couple touches last week, even though Nick Chubb was a starter. That may continue, kind of like a Dalvin Cook, Alexander Madison, or an Ezekiel Elliott to Tony Pollard kind of thing. But I really do believe Nick Chubb is going to get the majority of the totes this week, and they're going against a divisional opponent in the Cincinnati Bengals, who are a good team, and these two teams are competing for first place in this division. So this is a big game for them. They're going to have to run the football. They're going to have to run the football well, and I think Nick Chubb really gets it done for him this week. Next up, we got Elijah Mitchell. The San Francisco 49ers are a run-first football team. When they had Raheem Mostert, they ran the football. When they had Tevin Coleman, they ran the football. When they had Mr. Hasty, they ran the football. And Mitchell stepped up as that guy this year for the injuries that they've had. They're decimated at their running back position right now, and he's actually questionable himself. It doesn't say exactly what his injury status is, but it looks like he was a limited participant this week in practice. So if that changes, if his status changes, I'll obviously have to change that position for a running back. But as of right now, this is Wednesday. I record on Wednesdays, and then I upload the videos on Fridays. So this is still kind of early in the week. However, we're going to roll with it as far as Wednesday goes. We're going to keep Mitchell in our lineup. He's projected 15.5 points, valued at $5,800. So there's good value there, I believe, in a run-first team and the 49ers. Next 3 slots, we got our 3 wide receiver slots. We're rolling with Jamar Chase, obviously. He's a dog. CeeDee Lamb and Rashad Bateman of the Baltimore Ravens. So first we're going to start with Jamar Chase. Jamar Chase had a decent week last week for a fantasy wide receiver goes. He had 14 points-ish, I believe, somewhere in that ballpark. But we all know Jamar Chase has just been putting up those stupid numbers this year, like 37 points, 33.5 points. So last week he had a clunker, and his pattern so far this year has been clunker, big game, clunker, big game. So if that pattern continues, last week he had a clunker. He had about 13 points, 13.7 points. This week should be his week where he goes off. And just like Nick Chubb, he's playing against a divisional opponent this week. And they're really going to be battling out because both teams know it's a must win if they really want to get ahead in that division. So there's going to be some shots taken downfield. It's Joey Burrow to Jamar Chase. I think he's going to have a big week this week. Projected 21 points on the button, which is a lot of projected points. That's like a Christian McCaffrey number projected points. He's projected like 22-ish points or something or on that ballpark. So we're going to roll with Jamar Chase against a divisional opponent this week. Next up is CeeDee Lamb, also questionable, so his status could change within the next 4 days. Whether it does or it doesn't, I believe either him or Amari Cooper, they're about the same price range, $7,200. Amari's not far behind him. I believe he's actually cheaper than CeeDee Lamb. But if CeeDee Lamb doesn't play, we'll roll with Amari Cooper. But CeeDee Lamb plays. We're going to roll with CeeDee Lamb because Dak is projected to play again this week after he didn't play last week against the Minnesota Vikings. Dak likes to throw that ball, and he really likes to throw that ball to CeeDee Lamb. So we're going to roll with CeeDee Lamb this week with Dak coming back off injury. Next up, this week we're going to do 2 astronomical players, so we'll cut them in half. This is my astronomical player of the week. Shout out to Travis Scott yet again. If I can get this flag undone. Astro World. Astronomical. Let's go. Rashad Bateman. Rashad Bateman is going up against the Minnesota Vikings, who had an abysmal showing on Sunday Night Football last week. And the Minnesota cornerbacks are just they're not very talented right now. They're absent injury, and they seem to let up the big play a lot. I was going to go with Mark Andrews this week because they're like, oh, Mark Andrews is a big target against a Minnesota defense who just got shredded last week by Cooper Rush. I don't think Mark Andrews is the pick this week because the Minnesota linebackers normally match up good against tight ends. Eric Kendricks and Anthony Barr are good against pass protection against those big tight ends, so I don't think Mark Andrews is going to have that big of a week. However, that leaves the Minnesota cornerbacks vulnerable to either Hollywood Marquise Brown or Rashad Bateman. So it's really a toss-up here whether it's going to be Marquise Brown or Rashad Bateman who's going to go off, but I promise you one of them is going to get a lot of fantasy points this week against the Minnesota Vikings, who always let up a lot of fantasy points against fantasy wide receivers. So we're going to go with Bateman at $4,000, which is a lot of value. I think he's going to get this game. And he's the Minnesota kid. You know, he went to the University of Minnesota. It's kind of a feel like it could be a, why'd you not pick me game? I'm going to show you game. So we're going to roll with Bateman here, kind of taking a risk on him. I think he's going to have very low ownership, which is why I believe the value will be there for a low-owned player this week in DraftKings. Next up is our tight end spot. We got Josiah DeGura, the backup tight end for the Green Bay Packers. News broke Thursday last week that Robert Tonyan was going to be out for the rest of the year with a torn ACL. Josiah DeGura stepped up. He had 2 catches for 20-some yards. Not crazy, but he did also get those totes in the second half after Tonyan went down. I don't think Green Bay is going to be throwing the ball to Mercedes Lewis. They run a lot of big tight end sets. They run like 3 tight end sets in a lot of their offensive schemes. So we're going to roll with DeGura this week, even though he's only projected 2 points as of right now. I think that number will be drastically higher than that because Jordan Love's going to have to throw that ball to somebody, and Tonyan's now out. So we're going to roll with DeGura, valued at $2,500, which leaves my flex spot My flex spot this week is also my astronomical player part 2. My flag is upside down. Dalvin Cook. Dalvin Cook has not performed to a lot of every fantasy manager that's drafted him this year. He's gotten 20 points in, I believe, 2 games. And the other ones he's gotten single points or he hasn't played. Dalvin Cook looked like he was in the Sunday Night Football game. He looked healthy. He didn't make a big impact. However, he looked like he could really tote that rock. Minnesota's going to have to win this football game somehow, and it's either going to be through the air or through Dalvin Cook's hands, and I'm going to take the chance on it being through Dalvin Cook's hands. This is going to be a high-scoring football game. 2 very high-powered offenses going at it that need wins to stay up to par with their division. So we're going to go with Dalvin Cook here, valued at 7,700 DK bucks. And I think he's going to have a good week this week. Fantasy managers will be like, yes, Dalvin Cook's finally back to why I drafted him at number 2 or number 1 or number 3. Last but not least, we have it is the last slot, unfortunately. Defense special teams, the Buffalo Bills going up against the Jacksonville Jaguars. Jacksonville is the 31st worst team to play a defense against. So that's a good thing. They let up the most fantasy points to defenses or special teams. And the Buffalo Bills defense has been very stout this year. They have a lot of talent on that defense that can get interceptions, force fumbles, recover fumbles. And that's what you need out of a defense in DraftKings in order to win good, amounts of money. You need a defense that can put up points. You don't want a 3, 4, 5 point defense. You need that defense. Every slot in DraftKings needs to get a lot of points. So I'm projecting the Bills here, force a lot of turnovers, maybe get a defensive touchdown. They're the more expensive defense this week. I think they're like the second highest, most expensive, but that's how much money we have left over when we take Rashad Bateman and Jordan Love as our quarterback and our third wide receiver slot to take a higher valued Buffalo Bills defense. So that is my Week 8 picks this week. We're going with Jordan Love, Nick Chubb, Elijah Mitchell, Jamar Chase, CeeDee Lamb, Rashad Bateman, Josiah DeGuara at tight end, Dalvin Cook in our flex spot, and the Buffalo Bills defense and special teams against Jacksonville. Hopefully these guys can get a lot more points for me than my last lineup did last week, because I had Kenneth Gainwell, Derrick Henry, who was forced out, and James Robinson, who was forced out as well. Those guys they all got injured and were forced out of the game. So sadly, last week I was plagued to injuries. Hopefully that doesn't happen for me this week, but it's all speculation, and I really hope my team can get that 210-point game for me this week. That does it for me. Week 9 shot in 4K, Veggie's Daily Fantasy Corner. Appreciate the love from all the fans. I hope you guys keep showing love, and we'll see you in Week 10. Thank you.